Thank you so much for joining us for the DevFacto webinar series, Kickstart Your Cloud. Today we're going to be joined by DevFacto's Cloud Solutions Consultant, Camron Bute, and he'll be taking you through about a 40-minute presentation on the cloud, followed by 10 or 15 minutes for questions at the end. If you do have questions throughout the presentation, you can type them into the chat box that you see on your screen, and we will address all of the questions at the very end of the presentation. Anything we don't get to, we can definitely follow up with you personally following. Please also note that a recording of today's presentation will be made available on the DevFacto YouTube channel, as well as sent out in an email if you'd like one. And if you have any questions about any DevFacto services, other upcoming events, or if you'd even like to learn more about the cloud, please feel free to get in touch with us. We're happy to chat at any time. All right, so let's get started. Cam, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the introduction, Laura, and welcome everybody to the webinar. I'm excited to be here to tell you about the cloud. So today we're going to be talking about your competitive advantage and finding that in the cloud by kickstarting with DevFacto. So like Laura had said, my name is Camron Bute. I'm a cloud solution consultant here at DevFacto. We're a consulting firm serving enterprise clients across North America, and we have 120 employees across 3 branches. So before I get started, I want to just set the stage. I want to tell you, how are you going to be benefiting from being here at this discussion? The goal I'm going to drive towards today is the competitive advantage. I'm going to show you how businesses are evolving from an old way of thinking and moving into the cloud, which is a new way of thinking. I'm going to explain why this is beneficial to your business and how you can create that strong competitive advantage using the cloud. I'm also going to tell you what you can do to start making that transition into the cloud. So what is it that drives this advantage? The first thing, and a lot of customers get really excited about this, is savings, financial savings. And this is in the immediate and in the long term. The cloud represents a significant opportunity. For example, in the immediate term, we're looking at no upfront capital investment, no service to buy, and this can actually be a really significant expense, especially for companies who are a little bit smaller or who need a large amount of resources. But then as well in the long term, monthly costs based on what you use actually provide a longer term savings as well. The great example of this is email. We all need email. Your business needs it, it runs on it. In the past, what you've done is you've gone ahead and you've bought a server, you've hired administrators, and you've installed probably something like Microsoft's Exchange server to run that email. However, the cloud allows you to do the same thing. Office 365, which is Microsoft's cloud offering of Exchange, is available to you, but there's no servers, no administrators to hire. You buy it, you use it. And on top of that, you're able to get a 48% savings in this particular example. And that savings starts the day that you need that email. Productivity is another advantage of the cloud. Having your information and services that run your business available anytime, anywhere is crucial to being able to be productive. Making sure that your employees are no longer chained to the desk means that they have the flexibility to choose when they work and how their work is done to whatever best suits them, making them more productive. Let's imagine an example. A healthcare supply company has a direct sales team, and that sales team goes into a customer site, and when that customer makes a sale, buys some product, that salesperson has to come back to the office to fill out paperwork. Well, that's the old way of doing things, and honestly, it's unproductive and time-consuming. But if you were to give that sales team the cloud and make the systems and information that runs your business available to them, when they make that sale at the customer site, they can hop in their car, head to the nearest coffee shop, however they want, connect to your business, enter that information directly into your sales system, and then move on to the next customer. They spend more time in front of the clients. The cloud also reduces costs elsewhere within your business. So we've been talking a little bit about servers and environments, but licensing costs also become eliminated, and as well as employee expenses and hardware-related costs that are outside of that. So if we take the previous example of a sales team that uses the cloud, one of the additional benefits of not having to travel back and forth between the client site and the office is the fact that your company no longer has to pay mileage. It's an avoidable cost. Now you can invest those mileage expenses that you would have been paying to your salespeople and instead investing them in more valuable opportunities. Because mileage isn't what drives your business. Being in front of the customers, making sales, that's what drives your business. Mileage is just something that you do in order to get in front of those customers. And when you don't have to put as much mileage, you can use that money for other opportunities. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to focus on your core business. IT departments within companies nowadays are spending too much time on dealing with the pain of the company, keeping things up and running, making sure everything's working. And what you want to be able to do is focus them on adding strategic value, and the cloud does that. Allow them to start contributing to what it is that you actually do, to your construction company, to your healthcare supply company. Outsource your non-core tasks to service providers that can take care of those things for you, and you get back to what you do best. Let's take, for example, a construction company. Now, this construction company, they have to go out and they have to do products and part of projects, and part of doing those projects is storing data. That's a necessity in today's world. And so this construction company may have bought some hardware and hired some administrators and gotten everything set up to store their data. However, these data storage administrators, they're spending 5 hours a week backing up data and 10 hours a month keeping things running. And this is a significant amount of effort for something that isn't even your core business. But if you can move to the cloud, you can actually turn around and take all that hours and time and energy that they're spending and put that towards something that more directly affects your business, your construction business, not your data storage business. The cloud gives you choice and agility. So the cloud is based on monthly payments, and contracts are very, very rare. This allows you flexibility in choosing providers because you can move when you want. There's nothing holding you back. And this really reduces vendor lock-in. You get to choose the tools that you want that work best for your business when you want them. So I've got an example here. DROPBOX and ONEDRIVE are two pretty common examples of file storage services, and they also sync with your desktop and they use the cloud. So let's say your company is sitting on DROPBOX. They've been using it to share files and sync amongst everybody for collaboration, and it's working well. But then ONEDRIVE releases a new feature. And man, that feature, that's really amazing. You really want that for your business. Well, the great news is that you can have that. All you need to do is take all the information that you have in DROPBOX, move it to ONEDRIVE, cancel your DROPBOX subscription, and there you go, you're done. You now get those benefits as soon as you need them. And that can be really crucial for gaining that competitive advantage. But I mean, that's a pretty simple example. Maybe a little bit more of a complex example would be something like email. So you may have been using Google for Business, which offers email. But you want to move to something that integrates more with the products that you have, something like, say, Office 365. Well, moving your email, you can't just drag your email over to Office 365. But there's advantages to this as well, because there are migration tools that are available to move from Gmail to Office 365. Many companies, in fact, an entire ecosystem is out there. that designed around moving data between different cloud services. And so these companies are the ones that are allowing you even more flexibility. If you don't like the email service that you're working, all you need to do is use the tool, migrate the data, and now you can be on a different email server, sometimes within just a matter of days. The flexibility that this provides you, the choice that you have, is going to make sure that you're not finding yourself locked into technology that isn't serving you. Disaster preparedness is this really interesting feature that a lot of companies know that they need, but not a lot of companies spend the time that they need to preparing for disaster. And there's a really good reason why. It's because day to day, you don't see disaster preparedness. It doesn't help you in your day-to-day life. You only need it when disaster strikes. But this is a large concern, especially for CEOs, and the reason is because they, most of all, know how important it is to make sure that you're up and running. They know how fatal it can be to a business. It can sometimes kill that business to be down for 2 days. But the cloud providers have you covered. They know that you need this. They know that you need disaster preparedness, and so they've built it into their solutions. There's no need to worry about your vital data or systems being gone when a disaster strikes. A great example of this is the Calgary flood that we had here in Alberta recently. Overnight, some businesses found that they just weren't able to access their offices anymore. Their networks were down, and the data that they needed to run their business was gone, not available to them. And this hurt a lot of businesses. But imagine if those companies were using the cloud, if they were able to say to their employees, well, why don't you guys just go home and we'll just wait for this to blow over. And then, well, you know, you're sitting at home, you can just continue to do your work. Everything's available to you and we don't have to worry about it. Barely skipping a beat in the face of a flood. Imagine if that had been around for a lot of companies who had seen a lot of struggles from not being able to access their data. Mobility and analytics are actually two technologies that are representative of a huge amount of technologies that require change. They want to change constantly in order to be able to meet demand in the market, in the business. And the cloud provides that great foundation. So if you were to build a mobile device, a mobile application on the cloud, you can really start to unlock the potential of mobile. You can start to use the instrumentation and build some really great apps. And if you're looking for analytics, I mean, corporate data is exploding at an exponential rate. And the cloud gives you the ability to start to analyze and use that data to provide insights. So I'll give you the example of a safety application. We built a safety application for a customer recently on a mobile device. And this inspection application allowed them to do inspections on site and submit the inspections straight to head office. It allowed them to do it anywhere at any time. And this was able to give the people in head office an understanding very quickly of which sites were unsafe and which weren't. But imagine if that app needed to change. If you needed to be able to let's say at the next quarterly meeting, management decides, well, you know what, in order to increase the quality of our inspections, we're going to ask that managers improve all inspections and take a look at them to make sure that they're done right. If you needed to make a change like this, it might be difficult, but with the cloud, that change is easy because you need to change and you're building on the cloud, which understands change and is built for change. You can easily change that application. So today's marketplace is significantly different than it was 50 years ago. But businesses still operate in almost the same way. We all agree that the world is changing fast and that business models of yesterday are becoming old and outdated, what we'll call old factory thinking. But the problem is that old factory thinking is so deeply ingrained that it's actually become common practice. It's hidden to us because we've stopped questioning how to do things better. Well, I'm here to introduce new factory thinking. But old factory thinking, I mean, that's things like spending massive amounts of capital on hardware that becomes quickly obsolete, almost as soon as you buy it. Old factory thinking is doing things like creating large applications where you have to focus on the technology that's building them, getting it to work, instead of actually making sure that the business solutions that you built that application for are being solved. And applications that have long release and update cycles that make them slow to change. Old factory thinking is about IT teams that spend their time reacting to problems and putting out fires. Old factory thinking is about data in many disparate systems that don't talk to each other with no collaboration. When you want to ask an answer of your business using that data, it's hard to get, if you even can get it at all. Old factory thinking is about technology holding you back from making the changes that you need to make within your business. But I'm here to tell you about New Factory. New Factory is modern. It's the new market direction. It's a new way of looking at the business. Cloud is this new factory way of thinking. Cloud is about always having current services available at a predictable monthly cost. No more obsolete hardware. New factory thinking is about development that's really, really quick, spending less time dealing with the technology, more time solving business problems. New factory is about IT teams that are focused on your core business instead of the mundane operational tasks that they can do. New factory is about integrated information that provides deep insight into your business and is quick and easy to use. New factory thinking is about having an elastic on-demand services available when you need them that enable the change that you need to within your business or within the market. So we've heard a lot of great things, but I mean, what is the cloud? Well, the cloud is a new way of organizing and managing IT resources. A shared pool of resources means that you utilize every piece of your investment and keep your costs low. Highly automated environments mean no more slow manual reconfiguration tasks that IT administrators used to do. And more importantly, it means abstracting technology away from the users to allow them to focus on your business instead of fighting with the technology to get what they need. The underlying magic of cloud is that the average person doesn't actually need to know how it works. That's the whole point of cloud. It's so easy to use. You don't need to be an expert in order to use it. You're allowed to free yourself from the burdens of technology. But in order to be able to do that, I mean, the cloud has to be able to do some things that we need it to. It needs to be on demand. It needs to be there when we need it. And it needs to be accessible anywhere we want, at any time, on any device that we choose to use. It needs to be elastic. It needs to be able to grow to meet our demands and shrink to save us money. And we only want to pay what we need to in order for this. We want a pay-as-you-go model. Well, that's all possible, but how? Well, the fact of the matter is cloud computing computing power has become a commodity. The prices are going down, and this is no more relevant than using Bezos' law. It's something that Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, said that people have started to dub Bezos' law. And it says that over the history of cloud, a unit of computing power price is reduced by 50% approximately every 3 years. And that's the point, is that we're now seeing costs go down. We figured out the technology and how to make it work for us instead of us having to work for it. In the cloud, it's not an option anymore. It's the new way of doing things. And what I'm showing you today, this is just the beginning of the next evolution of business. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to buy the cloud. You want to invest in accelerated business outcomes. You're looking for better services. You're looking for more reliability and better adaptability to your business and the market. At the end of the day, all of these things are driving a competitive advantage. And that's what you're looking for. So think of it this way. You know, a long time ago, if I wanted water and I was lucky enough to live close to a source of water, I would have had to dig a well. I would have had to put in a bunch of time and energy before I ever got my first glass of water. Well, that just doesn't happen anymore. The fact of the matter is, I'm buying my water from somebody else because I want to be able to go into my house, turn on my tap, and get myself a glass of water. I want it to be there when I need it. And I buy my water because I know down the line somebody is taking care of its safety. Somebody is treating this water. In fact, I know that there's an entire team of people who have dedicated their entire careers to making sure that the water that I'm drinking and using is safe. And I do that because I only want to pay for what I use. I don't want to have to use up a certain amount of water every month, or I don't want to have to deal with quotas. And that's what buying water allows me to do. As well, if I need more water, it's available to me. I just open the tap up a little bit more. More water comes out. I don't have to worry about there not being enough water. And this is what the cloud is like. It's there when you need it. It's safe. And if you think that you haven't used the cloud, I'm here to tell you that you might be mistaken. If you take a look at Office 365, Gmail, DROPBOX, those are some of the most popular examples of cloud technologies. Well, you may not have known, but these are cloud technologies. And that's kind of the point. Some people aren't aware that Gmail is a cloud app because they've done such a great job. They've done what the cloud is supposed to do. They've taken something like email, and instead of having to force users to worry about the technology, they've given them email. Users don't even know where it comes from, how it works, because they don't have to. That's the power of the cloud. So chances are, though, that if you've heard about the cloud, you've heard about some common misconceptions, some concerns that actually are common misconceptions. So I want to take some time to address those. So the first question, and I hear this from a lot of people, is the cloud secure? I'm here to tell you that yes, the cloud is secure. Security is the core business of cloud providers. They are taking their time. They are focusing their entire business on security. A construction company, they don't do that. They don't focus on security, but a cloud company does. The cloud companies have built multiple layers of security. They're everything from encryption to data access, all the way to physical security of the drives and the servers themselves is covered. And they do constant penetration testing to make sure that their networks are secure from vulnerabilities. So a lot of people say, well, that's great. I'm glad that you said the cloud is secure, but I mean, I've heard about some recent examples of data breaches. Well, I'd like to take a little bit of time and just address those issues. One of the most high-profile data breaches over the last little bit has been Sony's data breach that they had. When people ask me about that, this is what I tell them. I say, Sony, they're an entertainment company. They're not an IT company. The fact of the matter is they just didn't make it their core business to understand how to secure their environment. And in fact, they would have been a really great candidate for moving to the cloud. With that amount of information that they had, it would have been really useful for them to have passed that off to somebody else who knew how to secure it and detect those intrusions. People also bring up a lot the Apple celebrity scandal that happened recently with the Apple iCloud. And when people ask me about that, I just explained to them that, Apple's not an enterprise cloud. There are consumer clouds out there, but they aren't as secure as enterprise clouds. Enterprise clouds are made to secure against some of the most dangerous threats out there, and the Apple cloud was not an enterprise cloud. A lot of people also ask me about the privacy. Who can access my data? And I say, well, if you want to know who's accessed your data, you can find out, because all data access is logged. As well, the information, when you put it into the cloud, is given security controls by all the major cloud providers. They have security controls that allow you to control who accesses your data and how. And if you're worried about compliance and regulatory, you don't have to worry. The cloud providers have you covered, actually. They're all in the practice of getting industry standard certifications around their data centers, around their practices, and auditing processes. And this is to make sure that they have the latest in security certifications around the globe. Lists are available on their website, and it's always growing. A lot of people also ask me, well, what happens if the cloud goes down? What do I do then? Well, geographically distributed data centers are something that all the major cloud providers offer. They've got data centers on the East Coast and on the West Coast. So let's say that something were to happen, a hurricane, for example, comes and wipes out the East Coast data center. Well, they've got a data center on the West Coast, and they're just going to serve the content up from there, allowing you to continue on. But I mean, that's a pretty extreme example. I mean, a hurricane wiping out a data center. What about software updates? What about connection problems at the data centers themselves? What happens if those interrupt my access to my data? Well, then I just point them to the financially backed service level agreements. All the major cloud providers have service level agreements that indicate what they're able to promise you, and if they're not able to come back to that and back that up, you are compensated financially. A lot of people also ask, well, can I get support for my cloud infrastructure? And yes, the answer is yes. All the major cloud providers offer a variety of service plans, and you can always find something to fit your business. A lot of people also come to me and say, well, you know, the cloud, I don't want to put everything into the cloud. That sounds like a lot of work, and it sounds like, you know, a little scary to me. Can I start off really small? Can I do the cloud my way? And I say, yes, yeah, you can do the cloud however you want. You can make those moves. You could take a phased cloud approach because the cloud is flexible. The cloud is about allowing you to do what you want to do. It's not about forcing you into anything. So I want to just introduce you to some of the building blocks of the cloud. So here are some of the layers of the cloud. There's infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, and this is the basic building blocks of the cloud. These are things like servers, hardware, networking equipment, data drives, and cloud providers are able to offer these to customers. If you need some storage or if you need a machine itself, you can go to a cloud provider and get those. Very, very easy. However, if you're taking all those resources that you're renting from a cloud provider and you're using those to, for example, set up a web server, you might be more interested in platform as a service, or PaaS. And platform as a service evolved from the fact that cloud providers saw that people were taking their machines and their resources and building, for example, a web server, and they said, well, why don't we just do that for them? And so you can. A lot of cloud providers offer web servers that you don't need to worry about how the machine works. They just work for you. They give you credentials to a web server and you're able to do and configure how you need. But let's say the reason that you're building this web server is because you want to run a particular piece of software. Well, software as a service might be of interest to you as well. If you're looking just for the software, you might be able to find a SaaS offering of that software. And this means that instead of renting a web server for you to configure yourself, you can actually just turn around and rent the software itself. You might get some login credentials to that software, and now you can go in and you can configure it. You don't have to worry about how it's patched, how it's maintained, where the machines are. You just have to worry about what you want to worry about. Maybe it's a CRM or a piece of collaboration software. That's what you want, that's what you get. There's several types of cloud deployments. There's public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud, and I'll go over those right now. So the public cloud is what we usually think of when we think about cloud. These are vendors like Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. So why would you use the public cloud? Well, the fact of the matter is it's very simple and direct approach. All you need to do is request services from the cloud providers, and you have them. Spin up time is very quick. You can have them almost immediately. And you would use the public cloud because it's cost effective. You can access it from anywhere because of the distributed data centers that these cloud providers have. They have a high reliability because this is their job. It's their core business. And again, they're secure. They have a large pool of resources. You can have anything that you need, they have for you. And their pricing is very predictable. However, the reasons that you might not want to use a public cloud is if you're worried about management control of your resources, or if the data center where your resources are located are far away from the users that are using those resources. It introduces some latency. That might be an issue. The next type of cloud deployment is private cloud. And private cloud is what happens when you take an on-site data center that you might have in your office or in your building and start to use cloud technologies. You can get some of the same benefits, such as elasticity, resource pooling, things like that. However, you are the one who manages the hardware and keeps it up and running. So why would you use the private cloud? Well, the private cloud is really useful if you have legal restrictions, if the government has passed laws telling you where you can and cannot put your data. Or perhaps you have a significant investment that you've just made into a data center, and you don't necessarily want to throw out that data center and move to the cloud quite yet. You want to make sure that you're capitalizing on those investments. Well, you can do that with the private cloud. You have the control over your data, where the data sits, because you are the one who manages the servers, and you're able to use your existing investments. However, there comes with some drawbacks. The first is that it's not quite as secure. Again, the business that you're in might be construction or healthcare supply. It's not necessarily data security. And it also requires a large capital expense in order to have those servers on site. It's less reliable because at the end of the day, your core business, again, is not reliability of your IT resources. And you need to hire administrators to do that anyway, which means you need to have that additional expense. And at the end of the day, you probably have a smaller resource pool because the data centers that house the public cloud providers are massive. The hybrid cloud is a little bit of both. So if you have a public cloud service and you want to integrate it with your local, you'll be able to hook those up. And once you do that, it's considered a hybrid cloud. It's just that simple. Why would you use the hybrid cloud? Well, let's say you want to take a phased approach to cloud adoption. You know, moving everything into the cloud isn't quite feasible right now, or maybe you just want to test out the waters. Well, hybrid cloud is a great option, allowing you to consume public services while keeping what you want on site. Or perhaps there's legal or technical requirements around portions of your business. Perhaps certain pieces of data have to stay in a specific region, but the rest of the data is allowed to be wherever you'd like. You're able to choose what data goes where and build a hybrid cloud out of that. It's very easy to get going with a hybrid cloud. The speed to market is very quick. You just start signing up for your cloud services, and off you go. And if you can expand when you need to. So if you're looking at leveraging existing investments, but you're saying that your future, you want it to be in the public cloud, well, as your data center starts to age and come offline, you can expand into the cloud. Or perhaps you need additional capacity at a moment's notice, and you don't have the time to wait around for those new resources to arrive. Expand when you need to into the public cloud. Ultimately, it's very flexible. It allows you to do what you want. However, it comes with a little bit of a problem of the latency, which might be an issue with you. If you need a low level of latency between some on-site resources and the public cloud, it can produce a little bit of a challenge. And as well, the architectures can be complex if you're trying to mix non-cloud with cloud technologies. So we've heard a lot of great benefits about the cloud, but how can we use the cloud? What is the end goal here? Well, the first thing you can do is you could start to offload your infrastructure if you'd like. Again, your core business might not be infrastructure, so let somebody else manage your storage and your servers. Let your IT people get away from focusing on keeping things running and focus on adding strategic value to your company. And on top of that, you can save money in the short and the long term. Or you can maybe get into big data and analytics. Maybe this is something you've been eyeing. And the cloud is really great for moving into something like this. The amount of storage that you need for that data, the cloud has. And the compute power required to do analysis of it is available to you as well. You can access your data very easily because of distributed data centers. And it makes that change required for these kinds of solutions inherent in the solution that you're building on. Maybe you want to empower your mobile users. Maybe you want to let your workforce get out there and get doing the work that they need to do. The cloud allows you to unlock the potential of mobile devices, allows you to start using the instrumentation and the sensors in the devices that we have in our pockets. It allows you to use information anywhere, anytime, which means that your workforce has the flexibility to do things how they need to in order to get the job done. Or maybe you want to build a cloud solution. Maybe you're looking at a web application or a public website, maybe a mobile app. And while you may have been able to do these things before, the cloud is going to make it way easier, cheaper, and faster to build these things. So how do you get started on the cloud? Well, the first thing that we say is, regardless of how you want to approach the cloud, it's always important to do a little planning first. Maybe you just want to dip your toes in, see how it goes, maybe experiment a little bit. Or maybe you're seeing this as the advantage that it is, and you want to really press that to get that competitive advantage in your market. Either way, developing a strategy is really important. And once you get that strategy down, you can start to build a roadmap and understand where your company is and where you want to get to. A roadmap will help you connect those two dots and understand how to get there. And as well, we recommend, because the cloud is so complex and so difficult to navigate sometimes, that partnership is really crucial. It's important to have somebody who has experience with the cloud to avoid false starts when starting down this road. I'm also here to tell you that DevFacto can help. So DevFacto offers cloud services all the way from strategy development through to implementation and support. And in fact, we have the DevFacto Ground to Cloud program. The Ground to Cloud program can get you into the cloud in as little as 30 days. We take a tailored approach to your business and allow you to see immediate returns on your investment. Some of the instances that we'd like to share with you of a ground to cloud program is within 30 days. Imagine if you could build one app of your choice using cloud technologies and DevOps. Or maybe you want to deploy an ERP. Maybe you're looking at single sign-on because of user passwords and security requirements. That can be done in 30 days. Maybe you want to halt capital expenditures. Or maybe you want to integrate with your biggest clients in ways that you didn't think were possible. The Ground to Cloud program can make whatever you need to do in cloud happen. Thank you very much. I'd like to take the chance to answer some questions, and I'll be looking into the chat box for those. So I have a question here about whether or not the cloud providers publicize or make available their privacy, security, and or compliance audits. So they do. I know that Microsoft Azure specifically has set up an entire website devoted to educating their users. It's called the Azure Security and Trust Center. And so a lot of the cloud providers, they have lots of documentation. They want you to know about the security and compliance audits. And it's a great place to go if you're taking a look and thinking, you know, you want to go there, but you want to know more information. Great place to start. I see somebody asking for the link to the YouTube video. We will be posting that sometime later today, and we'll send out an email letting everybody know. Do we need extensive training to use the cloud? No, actually, and that's kind of the advantage of the cloud. Extensive training isn't required. This is about taking the technology away from the users. If you're doing something like disaster recovery, you may have to learn a little bit and understand how your company wants to do disaster recovery, but fighting with the software itself, no longer necessary. The cloud providers have made it as easy as they can to make it easy for you to use these cloud services. So I have a question about requiring extra insurance when using the cloud within organizations. The answer I can give to that is that it all depends on the organization and what you might be looking at. A lot of times moving into the cloud, again, requires those compliance standards, and so I would really recommend you go take a look at the Security and Trust website, and then take a look within your own organization to see if you're looking at moving into the cloud, what sort of security is required. You may find that those compliance audits are enough to satisfy existing insurance needs. I see here a question about the adoption rate of cloud, specifically in oil and gas. I know that I saw a stat recently that says overall cloud adoption is growing 13%, where the average IT growth is 4%. So while the cloud adoption itself, while not extremely large, right now is growing very, very fast. It's growing quite fast and continues to grow as providers are bringing up better services and getting better at understanding what businesses need. So I have a question here about what are the continuity procedures available in the event of a loss of cloud service? Well, like I said before, a lot of the cloud providers, they have distributed data centers. And so when you're setting up your cloud services, you can start to set your things like your load balancers to, you know, I want to avoid getting too technical, but I mean, you can set your load balancers and whatnot to point to either of the two data centers. And when you start to take a look at orchestration services, you can find some that will take and monitor, you know, one data center. And if that data center goes down, it will fail over to another data center. So when you start to take a look at, you know, what happens if this cloud data center goes down or, you know, this cloud service goes down, there are backups available. It might mean moving to a different data center. It might mean having some other backup solution available to you.
Okay, it looks like that's about it for today. If anyone has any other further questions, Cam is definitely here and available if you contact us through the contact information available on your slideshow today or at DevFacto.com. You can find our contact information there. We're happy to sit down with you and answer any questions that you have about cloud. In addition, following this webinar will be an email with the link to the recorded version of this webinar, so you can reference that as well in the future. So thank you again so much for joining us today on the webinar. Thank you to Cam. This was really excellent. I think we had some good questions and answers going. We hope to chat with you soon. And again, thank you for joining us for the DeFacto webinar series.